Hi and welcome to this week's Three Legs, Four Wheels F1 podcast. Please don't uninstall us Lando style, but it's Paul here with...
Sean.
Chris.
Lee.
And our special guest for this week...
Susie! Woo!
Yeah,
Clap, 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 clap.
Susie-
Round of applause. Woo-hoo.
Hello.
The very understated Susie is back with us again. How's things north of the border? And you nearly spilt that drink then.
I'm feeling very socially distanced.
Well, you're in Scotland.
Like-
You're in Scotland. That's what happens
And
anyway.
bad thing.
We are as far away. We're like so far socially distanced that like we're ticking all the boxes tonight. It's good.
Yeah, another show that we're doing in 3 different locations.
4, is it not 4?
Four. Yes, 4.
Chris and Lee don't live together.
No, we do not.
Yes.
It's been
Don't live together, yeah.
that last photo I took of them together. It could have, yeah. You can't tell. It's been a long day. I'm struggling.
Only don't live together because I'm not willing to make the jump.
Well, it may be a necessity soon, Lee, if we keep getting told that we're not allowed to work.
This is true.
Might be roomies.
Yeah, exactly. Roommates, bedmates.
So, we're professional podcasters now. It's completely unsustainable, but it sounds
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, so does that mean I should be charging you a fee for using my connection here?
No.
good. No, we can knock it off the office rental that Three Legs Four Wheels has been doing at the towers here for a while.
We'll come to some arrangement later. But obviously it's the financial situation that is kind of mainly in the F1 news today because Zach Brown has said that F1 could be in danger of losing 4 teams if the coronavirus crisis carries on for much longer. Time for some wild conjecture between the 5 of us. Who do we think he means?
Right, well, Williams, obviously.
Yeah. Because Williams have just furloughed their staff and senior staff and drivers have just taken a pay cut, and that happened this afternoon.
Have McLaren not done the same?
Yes, they have.
I
But
think they've just
I'm
done
not
that.
sure.
Yeah, I think they've just done that to be smart. I don't think that's actually they're in financial trouble because their money comes from Bahrain royalty. I'm sure they'll be fine.
Yeah, I
Well,
would say
see-
probably Sauber or Alpha, do you think? Whatever you want to call them.
Sorry, when you said Sauber or Alpha, I was not sure what Alpha we were talking about.
The Swiss team.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, the Swiss team. Sauber, Alfa Romeo, Sauber, Alfa Romeo, Sauber, Peter Sauber. That team
Olin.
from Switzerland.
No, I think they're okay. They've got too much of a connection with Ferrari, I think.
And they've got all
Do
of
you not think
Kubica's
that the
money.
satellite teams might be sort of the money hemorrhages for these teams? Because I think that AlphaTauri and Sauber, Alpha Ferrari Rosso, whatever it is, would could be 2 of the ones that end up going.
No, I think they're too important to development, and that's the thing. Yeah, this is maybe like obviously a thing in the short term, but you're forgetting that the power of the companies that are actually, especially with AlphaTauri. No, they're fine. The Red Bull's pocket is as deep as, I don't know, some sort of geological location that goes very far down. So they have nothing to worry
The
about.
Mariana Trench.
That's where I was going.
The only thing that's lower is Helmut Marko's morals after last week.
Oh.
Submarine poo.
I think those teams are going to be okay because at the end of the day, if they go, it's putting their future championships in jeopardy, let's say. And I think the companies are financially stable enough, and the companies that support them are financially stable enough.
Yeah.
So I reckon Haas could be on the list of those 4 because, well, I mean, Gene Haas has said how this season starts depends on whether he's going to plough a load more money in for 5 years into the F1 team. And
Maybe that's good for them that the season hasn't started then.
Saving him money.
Yeah, I mean, how many front wings has Grosjean not broken? And we're in April.
Save them millions.
He's building his own iRig at the moment. He's doing his setup, Grosjean. He's constructing something himself.
Oh God!
Yeah, there are pictures.
I can't wait to see his iRacing safety rating.
You know, iRacing does ban you for crashing too much.
Yeah.
Clearly,
Are you
Roman Grosjean
sure
does not
about-
know this.
Are you sure about that? Have you seen one of Lando's streams when they play iRacing between him and Max? Jeez.
I mean, talking of iRacing, I had I was kind of watching the IndyCar race in the background. The other night, and I was surprised to see Scott Speed in it because he got banned from iRacing for being too crashy, virtually as well as in real life.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, it was actually that bad that iRacing banned him for a while because he got shunted off track by someone and then drove around the circuit the wrong way and ploughed into him to take him out.
That's fantastic.
But
Love it.
But anyway, back to real F1. I think there's a chance that Haas could be on the list because I think Gene Haas may end up pulling.
Sorry, that was me sending a picture of a cat to the...
We're being invaded by a podcat. But yeah, Gene Haas may.
I only sent one.
Stop replying to Sean's message. But yeah, Gene Haas may pull the plug on funding the team if. Oh God! Now I'm getting other messages as well. This is going really well. I don't know if the desk isn't picking it up. Oh God, I've lost my thread. Gene Haas said he might well pull the plug if things go badly before they have to sign up for another 5 years, which was going to be part of the 2021 regulations, now held back till 2022. But could he drop out early? That's the question.
I don't think he would though.
There's no sponsorship on that Haas car. I mean, they did Tyler with Rich Energy last year. That went disastrously. There's no title sponsor, and there never really has been on Haas. So they're completely funded self-sufficiently, bankrolled by Gene Haas. If it's not going to plan, he's a wise man. He's not going to sort of sit there and keep throwing money at it for it to not work. If it's not working, I think he'd pull the plug.
I think there is some extra funding.
Wait, can we just go back a wee second? You're talking about the wise man that decided it was a good idea to not have customizable parts.
That was an unwise decision, but yeah.
If you ever go into his office, just check to see how much of the furniture comes from IKEA as well as the car.
IKEA? Don't you mean Maranello?
But I think there is extra money coming into the team because Grosjean does bring quite a bit of sponsorship from Total.
Yeah, but how much
want
of
to
that
pronounce
goes
it.
on to his damage? This is like when Maldonado brought money. It's a bit of a false economy when you're breaking that much stuff.
Yeah, fair point.
I think it would be a real shame if Haas goes, not only just for the fact that people will obviously be out of jobs and that will be one less team on the grid, but hopefully if that was the case that he would sell the team and not just get rid of it. But I think Gene Haas could have had a really, really good thing with Formula One, and I just think he took shortcuts, and I think that was detrimental to the health of the team financially, and also how well they would succeed, I think.
Yeah, because I think he's trying to run it in a very similar way to how a NASCAR team's run. Because NASCAR, you buy the car, you buy the engine, you buy all the bits, and all you're plugging into it is minor mechanical and a few allowable aero tweaks and a shitload of advertising decals. I'm probably going to get ripped apart by NASCAR fans for saying that, but this is how it appears to me as a non-NASCAR aficionado.
So that's why a wise man would have probably known that that's not how Formula One works. But no, I've got a lot of respect for Gene Haas, and obviously he's done a lot in like motorsport and a whole. And I just think it was just a missed opportunity.
Yeah,
I mean-
Gene Haas, he totally reinvented how you bring a team into Formula One, didn't he? With by buying parts in from Ferrari. Was it the following year's car or 2 years later? Basically, was a carbon copy of the Ferrari from the previous year. So in that respect, is it cutting corners, or is it just trying to find different ways to point B from point A? We saw the other three teams that came in 2010. They folded. They went by the wayside. Haas seemed to have some kind of sustainability in that they do fight for points every now and again. Whereas if you look at like Caterham and Marussia and the HRT, it was a miracle if one of them scored points at one point during the year at that one crazy race. Whereas Haas do score points and have been scoring points, quite what's the word? Yeah, quite a lot. There we go.
Quite occasionally.
Oh, the English language is really struggling with us tonight, isn't it? Clearly so is my grammar, so...
I've been cooped up inside for a long time. Please be kind.
You only speak to people online.
Exactly,
You're lucky I'm not trying to speak to you in emotes.
I talk once a week. This is it. This is the only time I talk any part of the week. Otherwise, I just type.
Chris, has it got to the point where your girlfriend tells you a joke and you actually answer by saying LOL?
I just send her a text.
Angry face poo.
Yeah, what I do is I send that laughing face with the tears coming out of it.
Oh,
Like,
that is my favourite.
Yeah, I send 3 of those, but really what I've done is mildly smirk.
It is, you've got to overreact a bit in emoji, haven't you? You can't actually just go with the like, nah. There's no sort of, okay, shruggy shoulders thing.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's something gone wrong with social distance and me not speaking to people here, because I'm going to play devil's advocate for Haas. I'm not sure how this has happened, but we shouldn't forget. But we shouldn't forget that up until last year, like Haas's model was going really well, and we were kind of praising Haas for coming in and being competitive. And the idea they had of coming in, buying the parts, and then slowly taking bits off and slowly producing their own car, I think worked. It was just the fact, whatever happened to Haas last year, where they just had no clue what was going on with the car from like the second race into the season. It was such a strange situation for them, not only to have that, then to have all the mess ups with the Rich Energy stuff. It was the perfect storm to send a team into the shit tip.
I think some of that could have been down to Alfa Romeo becoming Alfa Romeo, because the last couple of years before that, we'd all been cracking jokes about how Haas are just another Ferrari, whereas Ferrari have now gone and bought themselves another Ferrari, and maybe don't care about Haas as much.
Yeah, I think that's a fair statement to say.
Yeah. I agree as well.
Yeah, I think one of the other teams that everyone would put in the list of 4 in most danger to pull out would be Renault. Just going on previous form, it's Monday. Oh, Renault leaving Formula One today.
Oh, I think the writing's on the wall with them, because they're just not. They can't seem to just break through. And I think obviously because we've had the discussion about Renault, part of like, is it basically the full thing's owned by the French government?
Mostly state-owned.
Yeah. So I can understand that there's a whole lot of pressure on that team that there's not in the other teams. If you're playing with tax money, basically, I mean, let's be honest, that's basically what it is. That there's a whole level of expectation and pressure that comes with that. And if they can't break through, then really what is the point in them being there? They can maybe go and invest in another motorsport, things like that. They'll still be able to keep on with their esports teams and things of that nature, because actually the Renault esports teams are really good. The people that they've got on board are great. So I think they'll maybe want to carry that on if they do pull out of Formula One. But I think what they'll do is maybe go into another motorsport that's maybe less expensive and going to use less taxpayer money to run. than being Formula One.
I don't know what that would be, because I mean they've not long pulled out of Formula E because they were running the EDAMS project, and they've passed that over to Nissan, who actually own a large part of Renault that the French government don't own, because they're all part of the same group, which I found out with all the Carlos Ghosn scandal.
Yeah.
Oh.
So yeah, I mean, where would Renault go in motorsport? Because this new LMDH class that nobody seems to have a clue what's going on, it just looks like it's going to be another excuse for Toyota to build the next world's fastest Prius. It's not going to be for them, because manufacturers were pulling out of that class in WEC left, right, and centre. They're not going to make a GT entry, because don't you need to enter the GT classes? Don't you need to sell a number of road going cars in the same way that the Superbikes regulations are? Where you got to have a road version of the bike to enter it in the championship.
I think it's
the
a
old
fairly
homologation
nominal,
rules, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's a fairly nominal amount you have to sell, though.
But I mean, would anybody want to buy a Renault Super GT?
Well, it would depend on how they made it. I mean, if you look at if they made it basically like a souped up Clio, people really like that. They think that's really popular. If they tap into the right market and see a gap for it, then they will sell some. But like Shan made the point of, you don't need to sell hundreds of thousands of this car to be able to be able to go in and compete with it. So they could literally go and sell only in France. Let's say they managed to like really zone in like a target market that they could really sell to, and they sold, let's say, like 50,000. Minimal figure amount, but they have a car there, road car. They go, wait, let's just go into GT.
Well, they own Alpine as well, don't they? Don't forget that. So Renault and they bought Alpine. I think it was in the 70s they bought that, and they did bring out the Alpine car. Was it a couple of years ago? They bought the Alpine back, so they could have a Renault Alpine entry in GT. That's not beyond the realms of possibility.
I didn't think of it that way. I'd completely forgotten about Alpine cars. They were a regular of my.
That's a nice wee car as well.
Yeah, Alpines were a regular of my Top Trump Supercars packs back in the 1970s, for anyone that remembers that. Just me then, fair enough.
When the Top Trumps cars were made of slate.
And the horse you rode in on. What next we'll be looking at? Racing Point, I don't think would be on that list. Or
they're all right.
Aston Martin to be, because that's come through this week that it's still going ahead with the renaming for 2021, that the Silverstone team will now be Aston Martin.
Do we think that Aston Martin will survive all of this?
Well,
till it gets to that point?
I think they will now, because they've finally got they've got the Stroll money. The deal actually completed in the last week or so. Because there was
on April Fool's Day.
Yeah, there was all the big fuss about Lawrence Stroll's putting X amount in for X stake, and then all of a sudden the share price tanked, as a lot of other share prices have recently. And then it was Lawrence Stroll is putting in less money for a bigger stake if it happens. But yeah, as of last week, it's finally happened, and I think it's now put the company on a stable footing, because they've actually, as part of this takeover, they've now got the cash reserves to survive for, I think it's something like a year without selling a car.
Oh wow! Okay,
wow. That's handy, because that's probably going to happen.
Yeah, that's sad reality. That is.
Yeah, and
probably true.
And I think with the team being part of the same overall organisation, obviously I think there's a little bit of separation between what we now currently know as Racing Point and Aston Martin, the company, for the time being. I think that, but having Lawrence Stroll at the helm, that will be enough to keep them going for a year. I mean, there's been no mention of sort of financial problems for the team since he took over. And they seem in a solid enough place to actually weather this out. So I think we can sort of discount them from being on this potential 4.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't,
That could
I don't
work
think
well.
they are.
I think it could work well for Aston Martin this, because obviously how it would have been into 2021 would have been like a step into the unknown for everybody. But Racing Point seemed to have a really good car this year. You know,
Yeah, I mean, when
it
it
looked like a podium sitter.
well, yeah,
Oh, I
yeah.
wonder why they had a good car.
I know, it's odd, isn't it?
How many podiums did that car sit on last year?
But what I was going to say was, if what I think is going to happen happens, and this season gets abandoned, and then essentially the cars are just mothballed, and that's what we race next year, they'll be rebranding that Aston Martin, and all of a sudden Aston Martin might explode into Formula One as like the second or third fastest team, and everyone go, "Oh, that's amazing!" And like the PR wise, it'll be great for them.
Possibly. I mean, don't forget as well that the part of the there was supposed to be an emergency meeting, which I'm guessing is going to happen, much like we're doing this podcast through Skype. There's going to be an emergency. I think it may have been today. I should probably have read the article properly first.
Yeah, I think.
Nah, why do research?
No, I think it was today, but I think they were being all posh and everything and using Zoom. You know, they actually
Right,
like.
Is Zoom posh?
Well, yeah, because it's on video, so you got to like wear normal clothes and shave and things like that.
Yeah, it was going to be, but the emergency meeting was to discuss the fact that they need to chop the budget a bit more than they were going to, and from what I could tell, Zach Brown and even Mercedes were up for slashing the budget a bit more to make it a bit fairer on the smaller teams when they eventually get racing again. But it's Ferrari and Red Bull that are putting the the sticks in the wheel to sort of foul it up for everyone else.
I believe that's been agreed.
Has it been agreed today?
I think, yeah, because I read something just before we did this, but I only had time to do like headline reading, and I think that's been agreed.
Let's do some
Ferrari
Twitter searching.
Yeah, I think Ferrari agreed to it too. And the only other thing I caught from the article was that Red Bull had agreed to it, but only it's not cut as much as they wanted. They've kind of met in the middle. And Christian Horner said he doesn't think the budget should be cut any more than that. We should find other ways to cut costs in Formula One than the actual budget cap.
Is it just me, or is Red Bull at the moment being really just rebellious and?
At the moment,
I'd have gone for a bag of dicks.
I'm trying to be a little bit more diplomatic because I'm actually one of my uni topics is on Red Bull, so I'm neutral. But I feel like you would always, if Red Bull were picking a fight, let's say with somebody, 9 times out of 10 they were doing it because it was for the right thing, or they were challenging something that they thought was wrong. Whereas I feel something shifted in the past, I don't know how many months, but anytime I hear something about Christian Horner or Red Bull, or and there's maybe an argument between the teams and things like that, there was obviously, I'm just going to say a rumour because I don't know necessarily whether it was true or not, but apparently Red Bull were wanting to carry on with, I think they were the last team to agree to suspend the race in Australia.
Yeah, I read that.
There was, and like I say, I'm saying it's a rumour.
It's probably fact. I'm going with it.
But having my diplomatic hat on,
it was reported by sources that they were wanting to carry on.
Which
I heard Christian Horner went all Drago and said, like, as far as the mechanic goes, if he dies, he dies. Let's race.
Reporting this as fact now, are we, Lee?
None of the above might be true.
But yeah, they seem to be just being involved in stuff for all the wrong reasons at the moment.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, that you can't tell if they're doing it for the lols or being genuinely a bag of dicks.
I think Horner's got an unbelievable talent at sounding like he's being sort of altruistic and let's do this for the greater good of Formula One, while secretly it all being for the greater good of Red Bull.
It's a thing called ethical egoism.
That's good. I like that. Keeping that one.
It's a good description. Is that an official description?
Yes, Google it. Yeah, it's actually, funnily enough, I've seemed to be, since doing my ethics module as part of my master's degree, I've been learning a lot of this stuff, and I've been able to apply it a lot to Formula One recently, especially the whole Helmut Marko thing that happened last week as well. I actually said a wee piece on it on Twitter about it, just based on the things that I've learned at university, and it's something that I'm really interested in now, is that sort of corporate governance and ethics, and it's very much at the tippity top of everything at Formula One at the moment. So it's been interesting to sort of follow all the news, especially at the teams and all the furloughs of staff. And then obviously the teams taking cuts where they can and the drivers taking cuts. So a lot of that applies to ethics and corporate governance, which people wouldn't think about when they see these decisions. But there's a lot of the processes that you have to go through, and especially also risk management, which is a big part of corporate governance as well. So there's like the teams have gone through steps basically, and there's lots of things that that they're having to deal with. And some teams are doing better at it than others.
That's one way of putting it.
Mercedes seem to be like the good guys at the moment, don't they? You know, they are sort of advocating for the smaller teams to, catch up a little bit. So they were one of the first teams to agree to this budget cut, which the meeting was about today. It also, the wording of the cancellation of the Australian Grand Prix postponement of the Australian Grand Prix was quite interesting, because Mercedes, when they put their press statement out, says Mercedes have requested from the officials that the GP is cancelled. It seems like they were the first ones to make the moves to say, look, we need to cancel this race because at least one team has pulled out, and that's not fair. Because, of course, McLaren had already pulled out by that point. Yep.
But also, if you think about it this way, and here's me being all smart about it again, or trying to be smart about it. The whole thing with Mercedes jumping in, I mean, you've got to obviously think about the link now between McLaren and Mercedes. There is a loyalty there now, because when next year happens, I think it is still going to be the Mercedes engine that's going to be in that car next year. And also with Mercedes turning around and saying, oh, let's do the cuts, help out the smaller teams. Of course they're going to do that, because at the end of the day, if some of those smaller teams go, that's money out of their pocket.
Yeah.
So, yes, they might be the good guys, but like I said, that there's a whole, like, they're coming out smelling of roses, when really it's a logical, well thought out business decision for them to be ethical in this situation, because in the long run, it's going to benefit them financially. But the thing is, though, I mean, but it's not just in terms of Mercedes, in terms of the engines and the teams that they have, they're supplying engines to, but it's talent as well, because you've got to remember that Toto Wolff has like a massive investment in the likes of George Russell, for instance. If Williams goes, where does he go? And that's the thing, it's not just Mercedes' interest when you look at this. This is Toto Wolff's interests too.
Yeah, I mean,
and also Toto has a hand in Lando Norris's management as well.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at with the Esteban Ocon thing as well. All right, he's on a sort of contract loan to Renault for 2 years, but he's still a Mercedes driver at the end of that. So Toto Wolff has actually got control of 25% of the grid,
and yet we see him as the good guy. He's managed it very well.
That is genius. The greatest stunt the devil ever pulled was convincing people he didn't exist.
When really he started owning the whole thing.
But that's what I'm saying. It's everyone's like, oh, well done, Toto, great job. Like, you're a good guy. And it's like, just really think about what he's actually doing. He's pulling off a great stunt that's going to benefit him. It's going to benefit Mercedes. I mean, it's brilliant. It's great business. He's ticking every single ethical corporate governance box that there is. I mean, why didn't they have Total Wolff in charge when all the diesel situation was going on with Mercedes and VW and Audi and all the rest of them? I mean, just put him in charge. I mean, they'd coming out and everybody was like, yep. VW went and gas punkies. Brilliant.
Come out smelling of roses instead of smelling of Red X. That's 2 laughs I've got tonight. Did the first one get recorded? Probably not. Right, one team that I think would be in the 4, and I don't know if anybody agrees with me on this, but I think AlphaTauri are in danger because if there's only 7 teams on the grid, then the top teams have to run 3 cars. Now, this would mean that Red Bull would be one of the teams having to run 3 cars, so the Red Bull organisation would be running a total of 5 cars. Finish off the AlphaTauri team, and all of a sudden it becomes cheaper for Red Bull because they're not running 5 cars as a group anymore, they're just running 3.
So how many total cars would that be on the grid then if the top teams are running 3? How many are we saying 3 top 3 teams?
I think it might even be the top 4 teams, depending on how many teams pulled out.
So that would be 50.
If 4 teams pull out, that leaves you with 6 teams. I'm pretty sure all of them would have to run 3 cars.
Okay, so Red Bull could control a third of the grid.
Well, no, because if AlphaTauri pull out, then Red Bull don't have the expense of having to run 5 or 6 cars, depending on how many cars they make each team run.
But if AlphaTauri
But like
don't
Susie
pull out,
said before, though, the pockets of Red Bull and Red Bull's owners, Mateschitz, they're so deep that is that going to be a problem? It's going to go one way or the other? It's either going to be a huge sort of downfall for the satellite teams, like what Lee was saying. Alfa Romeo are going to be in trouble. You know, AlphaTauri as well probably, or it's going to work completely the opposite way around, and they're going to be safe because the parent teams, if you want to call them that, are just going to plow the money into them to keep them going for development reasons.
Red Bull and AlphaTauri are not part of our worries at all. Like they really are. I mean, if Red Bull had it their way, they would have a third team. Because at the end of the day, they actually have the talent to have been able to pull off a third team.
Nope. They've just sacked the drivers that would drive for. Oh no, it's all right. They've just hired some more. You're all right, as you were.
But they have got so many in F3. I think they've got a couple in F2 this year. There's another batch that are maybe 2 years ready from probably being kicked out for the rest of their career. But if they
until they get called back again.
Until then. But yeah, if it got to a point where you had to have 3 car teams and Red Bull and AlphaTauri were still going, I think they would quite like the idea of 6 cars. I think that would appeal quite a lot to them. And if they don't have AlphaTauri, they can't have a young drivers program because they've got nowhere to put them. And that's sort of their target market for Red Bull, the product, is the wacky youth.
Shan, I 100% agree with you on that. I genuinely think, but to be honest, that's the thing. I would not be surprised. See if one of the teams that were going under were like, we're up for sale. I would not be slightly surprised if Red Bull turned down and said, here's a chunk of money. We're going to rebrand it something completely different, out with the Red Bull name, just so we have bums on seats.
That could be the answer if Gene Haas decides to pack it in.
That'd be a big fuck you at Rich Energy as well, wouldn't it? if they buy their team.
Williams is obviously in the most danger at the minute.
You would have to say.
I would think just because the situation on and off track that they've been in for the last few years. And I mean, going back to the last Formula One, Constructors Association, Teams Association, the last threat of a breakaway series, and Williams said that they weren't going with the majority of the constructors because all they are is a race team, and that's all they do, and they race in Formula One, and that's why they had to sign up. They've got next to nothing else, and I think they are in the most perilous position right now.
I just think the whole thing's tragic. I genuinely do. I still to this day, I mean, obviously I do know how they've got to this point, but it's still a thing. There has to be, and I know obviously Nicholas Latifi's come in and he's brought a huge pot of money to Williams, but at this point it's a little bit redundant, because basically this was the year that they were going to really rebuild and base their performance off that new sort of financial input that they have and that partnership they have with Nicholas Latifi, because he seemed really happy to join Williams. Him and George seemed to get on really great together. You can see the camaraderie actually between them on George's Twitch channel. The two of them get on, and he calls him Nicky all the time, and they're like, they've got a wee magic pairing together, and I think them two together would have really boosted the morale at Williams and really pushed the team forward this year. But with everything that's happened, I don't know if they're going to be able to get to that point where I think they're going to be damaged again, and it's going to be, they get to the first race of this season, whenever that happens, and it's going to be, there could be parts being delayed and all that sort of stuff again, and it's just bloody shame. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah, it is a shame for them.
It is a shame, because even if they were sort of propping the field up again, it kind of looked like they at least got onto the back of it. You know, it's because I mean, they looked like they were going to be sort of tangling with Haas, didn't they?
Yeah,
it was seeming that way in testing.
They were definitely. It looked like as if they might not be last. This is an improvement. This is great. Like there was going to be more competition, not just in the sort of middle field. There was actually going to be more competition towards just basically from the middle field back. So it looked like it was going to be an exciting start, and potentially it would have been opportunities for this year too for Williams to get more sponsorship and more money from different places. But it's just not happened, has it?
It's George Russell I feel the most sorry for here, because I really think he's world championship material.
Well,
and
I have a little bit of an observation, and I don't know what you guys might think of it. This is a Susie speculation coming for you.
Right,
I know how much.
Careful how you go on this one. George Russell and Lee are actually related.
Are they?
He's my cousin.
Through cousins.
No, he's not.
He is.
No,
A
actually,
family tree got
Yeah,
drawn
yeah.
and everything.
Don't worry, I'm not going to say anything bad. It's actually
Oh no! It's not. It's like completely like opposite ends of the family, and we don't really know each other. It was really funny when we met him at Mercedes. I had a family tree to show him we were related. It was hilarious.
That's hilarious.
But he took it really well, though.
Yeah, and it was really because his like handler was there, and George was looking at the piece of paper, and he said, and his handler sort of said, "Are you related?" He said, "It would appear so, yes." He's never getting that question again. Do you know you're related to me?
That's amazing. So I swear that this is a good thing. This is a good observation. So as most people know, that George has started his own Twitch channel, and I'd noticed that there seems to be a bit of going back and forth with Mercedes at the moment, especially with Lando and George. I'm presuming for a specific reason, but I think they're really pushing George onto just any little picture or bit of video or anything that's George related. Mercedes are jumping on it straight away and like cropping it and sticking it out into the Twitterverse. I think that there is a plan for him already that we don't know about, and I think this whole thing with how things are happening and George is taking some extracurricular activities and them sharing it as almost a look at George, look how great he is.
Yeah.
He's just posted a video on Instagram of himself making homemade pizza. So look out for that.
Oh, I've seen that already. He was talking about that on his Twitch stream earlier on. His dad came in and said, "Remember, we're making pizzas." And he was like, "Oh, lads, I've got to go. I need to go make pizzas." And they proceeded to take the mickey out of him, which was quite funny.
It looks good, in fairness to him.
I know it did. They look a wee pizza baker and give him Grosjean a run for his money. But no, it
Actually looks like a really good pizza.
Yeah. No, but see, in all seriousness, though, I definitely think that Mercedes are using this as an opportunity to put, and it's so strange because obviously Williams are still posting stuff of George's, but for Mercedes, who are a different team, to actively be like cropping content and posting it themselves on their Twitter channels, that's trying to make a statement. That's just not sharing something for fun. That's showing something else entirely.
Yeah,
and I think they did share a couple of Lando things as well, from what I can remember too.
Up until before this crisis hit, I was firmly of the opinion that George Russell was going to be driving the Mercedes in 2021. I think that may well get held off a year, and Bottas will be presented with another 12-month contract because it's another one to add to the collection. And I think 2022 we'll see George Russell in the Mercedes.
I don't think so. I think it's going to be next year.
I don't know. I think Mercedes will repay Bottas for sticking around and give him one last full season if they manage to get a full season next year.
I agree with Susie. I think that's what last year was the repaying of Bottas and not wanting to take a massive risk on a rookie driver in Mercedes. Realistically, I know, was it 2 years that Bottas was at Williams before he went to Mercedes?
A few more than that, I think. I think it was
Was it 3?
Yeah, I think it was
3 or
3
4.
maybe.
So 2013, I think, was his first year in Williams, I think.
Yeah.
That seems like ages ago. 2013.
Oh my God, I know.
Yeah. But like it wasn't what you would call like not a risk sticking Bottas in the Mercedes anyway. So it's not like they're risk averse with putting a driver in. They just haven't had to do it again since.
He did 4 years at Williams.
Yeah, I thought it was about 4 years.
I didn't know it was that many.
Jeez, was it as long as that?
Yeah.
That's crazy. But I think George did what he could in that car last year. He destroyed his teammate. Essentially, didn't really make a lot of mistakes. For a rookie year, he'll be in the simulator, or he'll be doing whatever work he could have done up until like lockdown sort of time that he could have done for Mercedes. I would imagine that all the drivers now are being fed stuff so they can still work with the team on home simulators. So he's probably still doing something for Mercedes now. So it doesn't. I think the idea of because no one might race this year. I think it's going to be a risk. Anyone getting back into the car, because you take anyone out of a sport for an entire year and then throw them back into it, and you're going to get rust. So in that respect, they might as well just put Russell in.
Do you think that Mercedes are potentially having a culture change that's going to happen at some point off the back of this new generation of drivers that are coming into the sport?
Do you mean when Toto Wolff goes to Aston Martin? That might be a culture change.
You're still trying to make that rumour happen.
Well, it was a rumor that was so put out there that Toto had to deny it. So it's already floating around.
True. It's so true. If you had to deny it, it's true.
That is usually the general rule, but yeah, I'm not feeling it.
Is that not one of those ones that Eddie Jordanism? Like, if somebody says that it's not true, then it is true.
Yeah, but this one didn't come from Eddie Jordan. This one, I think, came from Bernie
I know.
Eccleston, which is a questionable source.
Right, 5 hours ago, Toto Wolff said he is committed to Mercedes for the short term, and they will be discussing contract options for beyond the end of this year when his contract runs out. They'd already started discussing them before the pandemic hit, and things will be picked up again at a later date.
Oh, okay, so he's angling for a pay rise.
Basically, yes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And we know that we know as well, don't we, that this is what Lewis Hamilton is hinging his contract talks on, because he said he wants to know that there's going to be stability at Mercedes if he signs further past the end of 2020, and that's that obviously all this might be delayed by a year, but if Toto does go from Mercedes, that could unsettle the driver lineup, and maybe George and Esteban could find themselves in at Mercedes if Lewis fancies, go in a Ferrari, should we say, before he retires.
Or following Toto to Aston Martin.
Maybe.
Well, I don't know about that. I actually think that there's going to be something huge that's just going to happen at Mercedes. We're going to wake up one day and we're going to see that Lewis is gone, and we're going to see that Valtteri's gone. I think it's going to be the double whammy in a winner. I think they're both going to go at the same time, and the reason why I say that is because Mercedes are desperate for a culture shift. I think they are starting to see the benefit of the younger generation coming up. They're starting to see that the fact that the new fans that are coming into sports are more willing to buy merchandise, more willing to spend more money on different things, which are not maybe necessarily money makers of like fans of Lewis's generations. And also I just think that they're looking for a bit more from their drivers than what they're maybe getting, and that's the thing. Lewis has done his time in Formula One. He's able to have that status where he does do his own thing and he takes a back foot. But the thing that's still not sitting right with me right now is the fact that there's a big separation between the guys that are taking part and like helping put out content for people who are having a really hard time, and then you've got the likes of Lewis. Well, not Valtteri, he's doing his own thing. He's away in Valtteri land doing training camps with his girlfriend, and it looks like he's having the time of his life, which is great because he's not going to be a slob when he comes back. He's going to be ripped. He's going to be a mountain man. He's going to be fab. We don't need to worry about him. He's doing his own thing, and he's a different personality. But when you've got the likes of Lewis,
Valtteri 3.0.
Yeah, 3.5. I think at that time, I think we'll be at 3.5. But I think there's like the ones that are sitting and they're like silver towers or gold towers or whatever like analogy you want to use for it. When all the rest of them are all doing the hard work to keep the fans entertained, to keep them engaged, to keep them in a good space, and to like help put positivity out into the world. When that's like what I'm saying. There's this gap now, and then the rest of them are just sitting there.
The only issue with that, and I agree with you the way the new sort of breed of drivers are with each other. Like I think that it's nice to see drivers getting along. Like some of Lando's Twitch stuff when he's ringing other drivers, you would have never seen like Michael Schumacher do something like that. But the Twitch streams don't count for championship points, and until one of these drivers can come along and win half the races in a season like Lewis Hamilton can do, it doesn't matter.
Plus, if they want if Mercedes want a hat salesman, Fernando's available.
Well, the other thing is as well, Lewis Hamilton is, apart from Schumacher, I think Schumacher you can argue, but I think Lewis has done it more than Schumacher. In recent memory, that he's transcended the sport. Like he is like David Beckham, Michael Jordan type level of sporting celebrity now, and that's invaluable to a company like Mercedes. That's the sort of stuff that you stick, especially given Lewis Hamilton's image as well. You stick Lewis Hamilton next to a Mercedes in some sort of like amazing looking house. It's an aspirational thing, that's the sort of aspirational vision that sell units of these cars.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't think like funny tweets do that.
I get where you're coming from, but I would. funny tweets wasn't really my point.
He's the best driver on the grid. I think that's the thing. I don't like a culture change would only work if like Lando could fill Lewis Hamilton's boots. And I love Lando.
I'm not
don't
talking
think
about
he's
Lando,
Lewis
though.
level.
I'm talking about George.
But George is a nice guy. But I don't think he's quite got. I don't think he's got the charisma to do that, the Lando style thing.
Aye, but he's got part of the charisma, but he's also got part of the Lewis aspect to him as well. It was the fact that he can model a Tommy Hilfiger jumper and look great.
Oh yeah, but we're not. It's not proven yet. You wouldn't just stick him in a car and expect like to get Lewis Hamilton quality out of him. I don't. I think Mercedes will do everything in their power to keep Lewis Hamilton in the same. I think Ferrari will do everything in their power to try and get him in a red vest.
I mean, look at the virtual race. Oh, go on. Sorry.
You talking about obviously the whole thing with Lewis Hamilton like being popular and all that stuff. I don't know if you saw Pointless this week, but actually more people said Lewis Hamilton than they did Michael Schumacher.
Was it a Formula One round?
Jesus.
Which I think kind of proves the point there that you just talked about in terms of that, is the fact that he is past Formula One now. He's David Beckham level, and I think that's how, when you see that he is more recognisable than Michael Schumacher, then I suppose that says something, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, just the people he hangs around with as well. Like when you've got a Formula One driver hanging around with like Kanye and stuff like that, it's these things are what people notice. They see that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, he is a brand, and props to him. He's done it all off his own back because he doesn't actually have an agent or a manager. He handles all his affairs himself, and he decides what publicity that he's going to take care of. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He's his own personal trainer. He's his own manager.
He doesn't have somebody there taking their 10% for getting him to hold up a can of product.
Mm. It's only him and Vettel, isn't it? Vettel does himself too.
Yeah.
Oh well, I get that.
Although Vettel tends not to do a lot of advertising and promotion.
Yeah.
But yeah, all the media work that he does, he is his own agent.
Well, that maybe answers a couple of questions about how he deals with some things sometimes. I think maybe he could do with somebody in his corner, but in Vettel, I totally get that. I get it. He doesn't really talk too much publicly. Anything that he wants to put out to the fans, he does it through Ferrari, which I think is the right thing to do. For him, it's the right strategy for him. He lives his wee quiet life in his house with his kids and his wife, and I think apparently builds things in his garage a lot, from what I've heard. So he's like a really sort of quiet life. So for him to do that, I totally understand that. But for Lewis, is a bit. I think sometimes, in theory, doing things yourself might work, but sometimes I think you need. You
need occasionally the sort of little voice of the conscience in your head.
Mm-hmm.
Is this a good idea? Should you be doing this? And if you're running everything yourself, 9 times out of 10, yeah, it's probably the right thing. 1 time out of 10, no, it isn't, and you could be screwed. He's not made any major publicity gaffes. At least not that I've noticed anyway, but
the Instagram one from a couple of years ago was pretty bad.
Actually, yeah. When
that was just last year, was it not?
Was it last year?
It was, Christmas 2018 when he deleted.
It was Christmas before last.
When he deleted everything.
Yeah, but but going back to what we were saying about the next generation of drivers coming through in the official virtual Formula One race, which is held at Albert Park.
That well-known Vietnamese circuit.
Yeah, it was. But Charles Leclerc won, and he won by a big margin. And this is going back to what Lee was saying, 10, 15 minutes ago about, until one of these guys can come through and start winning, winning half the races in a season, as well as, doing well in the esports iRacing thing, then, none of that matters. Well, we got somebody there who's won two races last year, and, seven pole positions. Winning an iRace ahead of 5 other drivers who are on the F1 grid, a former world champion. So there might be a bit more to it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's not somebody who does it very often. He admitted himself he's not like he plays the games, but not like online. So yeah, he that next generation thing goes. Charles Leclerc did okay this weekend, just gone.
Yeah, and one of the funniest things ever was watching him try to end his live stream on Twitch. It's pure comedy. So if anybody, please go and watch it. Go and check out Charles Leclerc's Twitch channel and look for his first stream and just enjoy a couple of minutes of him fumbling about with his computer, not knowing what he's doing. It's pure comedy. It just shows you another element of his personality as well. But he is very competitive. One thing that I've definitely noticed in watching their streams today, when the guys are starting to mess about, he's the one that's trying to get them to be serious and like, come on, let's do it properly. Safety car, let's do safety car, and then get everybody lined up again. And he's very competitive. And it's shining through over the rest of them when it comes to even just playing for fun online. So I think that's going to carry him far.
Of course, we can't go through this week without mentioning the great work that ex-McLaren boss Ron Dennis has done. He's actually set up a scheme through his foundation to provide, 1,000 meals a day to health workers over 3 months. He's put about £1.5 million into this. And it's stunning. I mean, Chris, it even made you take back everything that you'd said about him on Twitter.
Yeah, he's been the butt of some jokes on this podcast in the past. That's all they are. They are jokes. But in times like this, it's worth remembering that that there are people putting their lives on the line in hospitals, from frontline care workers, etc. So for Ron Dennis to do something, that's going to benefit them. It's going to, give them nutritional food. As I think he just said in that interview we had a quick listen to. He's taking the restaurant to them because they can't go anywhere. Hats off to the man. Can't fault him at all for that whatsoever. Yeah. Yes, we had jokes about what happened with McLaren, but well done, Ron Dennis. I can't do that. So
yeah, because not only that, they're working in partnership with Yodel to actually be able to deliver packages to NHS workers who are maybe in isolation at the moment after being exposed to coronavirus. So they'll actually be delivering packages to their homes for any healthcare workers that are unwell at the moment, which I think is an amazing thing too. But the fact that they're trying to deliver 1 million meals in 3 months is quite amazing. And I think Formula One and our community as a whole has really, really come together, whether it be the fans doing things together online, showing support, the drivers rallying up, just rallying around the public and the fans, and then also the teams who are involved in the ventilator scheme.
Yeah, we didn't mention that last week, but quite a lot of the teams are now changing over their factories to produce the much needed ventilators for, not only the NHS in the UK, but I think they're making them available in Europe as well, which is fantastic. And something else that I've found out about just sort of in the last few minutes today, the Agnelli family that control Fiat have donated €10 million to the Italian fight against the disease. So wow. that is impressive. That is amazing. So it's just good to see the whole motorsport as a community coming together.
It is, yeah. I mean, it's great watching all these virtual sports and the iRacing and esports and things like that. But at the end of the day, it's a distraction from the reason that we can't go racing for real. because there's this terrible virus that is just running rampant all around the world, and it's great to see that the people who are in a position to do something about it are doing something about it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, especially with the amount of technology that Formula One has as well, and in motorsport in general, it's so good that they can, in times of crisis, they can use that technology to really help and make a difference. And I know Jackie Stewart's always been very passionate about that, especially by him doing his work for dementia and Alzheimer's, that he's always been a believer that Formula One can be really beneficial within healthcare. And I know Williams also have worked, have got schemes that are nothing to do with the coronavirus stuff at the moment, but they've actually worked with hospitals. And I think it is more in terms of an infrastructure type thing, like an organisational thing. They actually, I think Claire Williams spoke about it in the last season of Drive to Survive, I think, the first season, or it might have been some other documentary or something where Claire was talking about it. But they have got a close relationship with the NHS as well, so everybody's really stepping up, and it's really amazing to see.
Yeah, I think Williams Applied Technology have actually used their. It was a system that they designed for more effective chiller cabinets in supermarkets, but they've actually refined that again for medical cold cabinets for low temperature medicine storage to make those more energy efficient and actually giving a better airflow with less power.
It uses rear wing technology from Formula One cars, how the air flows around the rear wing. They basically put loads of tiny little rear wings at the back of the fridges.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's just so smart, so clever, but it just shows you that sport doesn't just have one purpose. Sport can benefit lives of many in different capacities.
Yeah, and it's great. It's great to find out at times like these that sport is really giving something back.
Yeah.
Have we got anything else to go through that's going on? Because I think we covered all the teams. We talked about the iRacing.
That's all the news for now, surely.
That is all the news. Lee, can you tell I'm filling for time in order for you to maybe get your iPad set up and get a total shunt in front of you?
No need to fill for time for me, mate. I'm a pro.
Oh,
you weren't last week. That's why I did it this week.
No, I was just early for this week last week. That's how much of a pro I was.
Lee is primed and ready to go.
Right,
ready?
Susie, you've done this before. You know how Who's a Total Shunt works?
Yes.
I'm sure we did one last time.
This one's in from Tom Horrocks.
Oh.
So,
Hello, Tom.
Hello, Tom.
Hi, Tom.
I was born.
Yes.
Good
Great
start.
start. In Germany, was that? Sorry.
Yep.
Okay.
I started karting age 3.
Okay.
I drove the ASL Merca Motorsport Formula 3 Euro Series.
I mean, this could be any German at this point.
Yeah.
I'd like a guess.
This is the second total shunt on the trot where they've started karting at 3.
Was Nico Rosberg born in Germany, or did he just decide he was German one day?
This is a good question.
because Keke Rosberg, I remember seeing that Keke put Nico in a car at a ridiculously young age, and he actually had the outside of the Rosberg family home concreted so that Nico had somewhere to drive his car around the house.
I think Nico was born in Germany, but I'm prepared to be wrong.
Well, I think you're right.
So I think
I thought he was born in Monaco. I thought he was Monegasque by
No, it's
place.
Monegasque by
No.
residence.
And drove
Oh, is he?
drove under a Monaco license at one point.
Yeah, he's driven under a Finnish license at one point.
If this is Nico Rosberg, I'm not playing the usual theme tune at the end. We are playing out with the Rosbergian national anthem.
yeah, we
It's
can
like
do that.
Schrodinger's race, isn't it? If you put Nico Rosberg in a box, where does he come from?
From which nation did he travel there?
Are we going for Rosberg? First guess?
Tell you what, we'll go for the German Nico Rosberg.
Yes,
and then
why
that
not?
still gives us at least another 2 Nico Rosbergs for later guesses.
Okay.
I was once replaced by Michael Ammermuller.
Yeah, he's a Porsche Carrera Cup driver.
He's quite a good one. He's one that doesn't live in the barriers.
Yes. And he would be
I'm a
about
self-
the same kind of age as Nico Rosberg.
Okay.
I'm a self-proclaimed crazy Beatle fan.
Beetle or Beatles?
I was gonna say, is
Beatles.
that the VW or is that the She Loves You? Yeah.
How are we spelling Beetle?
She loves you. Yeah.
That kind of Beetle.
Right.
I have it in my head. Vettel is a Beatles
I was about
fan.
to say the same thing.
Yeah, he just loves music though.
He's
as
an
well.
Anglophile as well, isn't he? He loves everything
So
British.
he is, yeah.
He loves British comedy. He loves Fawlty Towers and all that, and all the classic British comedy and British music. So Sebastian Vettel might be a good shout.
My three heroes are Michael Jordan,
The three Michaels.
Michael Jackson, and Michael Schumacher.
So yeah, it is Vettel.
So Vettel then.
Yeah, I think we're
Yeah.
looking at Sebastian Vettel.
Michael.
Is that your guess?
Michael Jordan? Did he say that he liked Michael Jordan?
He's got a basketball court at his house. Him and Martin Brundle did a feature there once.
Oh.
Yeah.
And don't forget when the last year's Formula One, when Vettel and Leclerc were driving each other around in a car, and they couldn't decide what music to listen to because Vettel likes the older stuff, and Leclerc
That's
likes.
true.
Yeah, but
obviously,
the older stuff was like The
Offspring.
Offspring.
Yeah, I know. It's a random choice.
But
wasn't
yeah,
it?
he was putting stuff on from like the 80s as well. But so the Michael Jackson fan thing would tie in with that too.
Yeah, I think Vettel would work. Yeah, it could. Yeah.
Second guess, Vettel.
Yeah.
It is Vettel.
Yeah.
I once crashed Eau Rouge, and a piece of debris almost amputated part of my body.
Oh dear.
Ouch.
That sounds not good.
I recorded a voiceover in my native language for the movies Car 2. Cars 2. even.
Sebastian Schnell, I
It's
believe
Vettel.
is the name, is the character.
It's Vettel, because Vettel
Yeah.
did do that, didn't he?
Yeah. Did Lewis do the British version and Sebastian did
so.
the German version?
And it wouldn't,
Number 9.
surprise me if
I
the
tested it. Listen to the quiz master. I tested for Sauber, aged 18, and number 10. I hold the record for in Formula One for the shortest time in a career before receiving a penalty. I didn't know that.
pit,
Yeah, 'cause he
would you like to
started
give
from
me
the
a
pit
guess?
lane.
yeah,
lane,
pit lane speeding penalty in
Pit
his
lane it was,
yeah, pit lane speeding penalty in his first race because wasn't that one of
Didn't know where the
the
limiter was.
yeah, F1 did the watch along with that the other day. I'll get there. Are we going for Vettel?
It's Vettel.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's got
Yep.
to be.
Yeah, it's Vettel. You got two easy ones there. It was an easy one last week as well, wasn't it?
It was Leclerc last week.
Right, we've done Ferrari. So if you want to send in a total shunt on any other driver that isn't currently in a Ferrari, because we've got those nailed, how do you send them in?
You can tweet me at a total shunt, or you can send me a PM on Instagram at a total shunt.
Excellent. And if you want to get hold of the rest of us, you can email the show, 3legs4wheels@gmail.com. We're at 3legs4wheels on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And individually, we are all
At Sean Cowper.
At Flood 21.
at Pablo100. And Susie, you are.
At Susie A.D. Kennedy, and I will never forgive myself for putting my middle initials in that Twitter handle. It's such a pain to say.
And right, I think that about does us for this week. Just a quick reminder on Formula League before we disappear. It's a lap in the dry in Bahrain in the 2004 Ferrari, and you've still got until next Monday at 7:00 UK time to get the times into us. And not that you're up against stiff competition this week, but one of the early times that's been sent in is top 10 in the world on the PC.
Well, that's not put people off, has it?
So second place is up for grabs.
or top 9 in the world.
Or top 9 in the world. Yeah, if you're on the PC, you're probably going to have to go some, so get the Xbox and PlayStation out. We'll be back next week. God knows what we'll have to talk about. Susie, once again, thank you so much for joining us. It's always a good laugh speaking to you when you're on here.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for having me again. It's always so much fun.
And, right, we'll see you next week. Stay safe, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.